It's like a polenta cake with organ meat in it that you fry crisp and have with maple syrup for breakfast? You gotta be kidding me. No, this is Scrapple, and it is one of the coolest ways to use organ meats that I know of. I've been using this for years. This is a famous recipe, a locally famous Pennsylvania Dutch recipe from the mid Atlantic region of the United States. What I love it for is it's a versatile formula for using offal. You just take some offal and some meat, cornmeal, and buckwheat, and that is basically all that you need. And what you can use is basically only limited by your imagination. You can use a whole pig head, and I'm pretty sure my friend Hank Shaw at Hunt Gather Cook does that. I like to use a bunch of different organs, or as you'll see here in the video, you can use just liver. We're going to start out with meat that's attached to a bone. And this could be organ meat too if you want to do like a hardcore version, but I like the collagen that comes from the meat because I like to cook the cornmeal in that, and you should cook it in some nice homemade stock ideally. We're going to take some of this shank. This is a smoked shank, so you don't have to brown it because browning is kind of a pain in the ass with shanks. Take the meat off the shank. We won't use all of it, and we're just going to set that aside and save the broth. Then we're going to cut up a bunch of liver or other organ meats. Like I said, you can use any organ meat here. I mean, from brains to testicles to kidneys to just about anything. But ideally, livers, kidneys, hearts, stuff like that. But especially liver. Liver is the most traditional. Then I'm going to take the onion that was cooked with the meat and the liver and the shank meat, and I'm going to buzz this all up. You can put it through a meat grinder, and that's actually better, and it's going to give you a better texture. Cooking in a food processor or buzzing it has a tendency to clump, but it's okay. As you're going to see, it works just fine. Then we're going to cook that organ meat mush into a pan until it makes this delicious looking gray paste. We're going to set that aside. Put some cling film on it so it doesn't dry out. Then we're going to mix some buckwheat flour, cornmeal, spices, and plenty of salt. And we're going to cook this in the liquid from the shanks. And remember that shank was smoked. So smoked stuff, smoked flavor goes really good with organ meats. Really, really well. Just really helps to balance it, kind of like adding a little bit of bacon. So we're just going to cook that, all of that for like 15 minutes, and you're going to see it's going to start to get a little bit thicker here. I shouldn't be using a metal whisk with this enamel pan. I'll also mention that, but it's fine. You'll see it worked out just fine. Now I'm going to add all of the organ meats, and like I said, it can clump a little bit in the food processor, so a meat grinder is ideal, but a lot of people don't have a meat grinder. Just bash everything up, and then we're going to stir it later. We're going to stir this plenty of times. Now you're going to bake this. You can put a lid on it or use parchment for about 30 to 45 minutes. And a lot of recipes say you have to cook it for like 12 hours or something, and you really don't have to. This is plenty of cook time. You can see it got really nice and thick there. Then we're going to take this and put it into an oiled loaf pan. So whatever kind of loaf pan you have, if you want a different shape, you could do it circular, like all kinds of things you could do. And then bang that down to make sure to try to get some air pockets out. You can see mine is not perfect here, but it's okay. As that cools, I'm going to keep pressing it down a little bit just to try to make sure I get air pockets out, which again, I did not do, but it's okay. Cover that with a little bit of cling film. Chill that down. You're going to have a little bit left over probably. You can form that into a little organ meat log and fry that up. Don't feed it to the dog because this is charcuterie, and charcuterie is heavily seasoned, so that's not good for their kidneys. Whatever you want to do with that last little bit, feed it to chickens. Okay, it might be a little bit hard to get your scrapple out of the loaf pan. So what you do is take that loaf pan and just heat it up a little bit. In a kitchen, I would use a blowtorch, but this is the butter solidifies there, and it can, butter is easier to make it stick on there, but it can stick a little bit when it's chilled. Just warm that up; it'll pop right out. Now we're going to cut like half-inch thick slices, and then we're just going to cook those in a pan. Now it might be a little bit tricky. These slices are still a little bit moist. If your pan is not non-stick, you can see these are not perfect. And I have a secret to getting them perfect that I'm going to share with you. If you take them right out, you can just keep flipping them until they turn. I like them really deeply caramelized. Like you're going to see like past golden brown. That is how I like them. It's that extra little bit of toasty flavor. I mean, even if it gets like a tiny bit of black is okay. Okay, so the secret for perfectly brown slices, you're going to take your slices and cut them, put them on a tray, and put them in the fridge. You can do this, even half an hour will make a difference. You could do it up to overnight, but after that, you'd want to put some cling film on them because then they could get too dry. And just look at how these cook. Okay, a little bit different than the other ones. Oh, yeah, that is exactly what we want. Edge to edge, past golden brown, like mahogany, little bit of eggs, bacon, whatever you want. Don't forget the maple syrup. Such a cool way to use organ meats. It smooths out the flavor. There's spices in there that really help elevate everything, and then the smoked flavor from the shank. And then you combine that with sweet. That was actually truffled maple syrup I used. All kinds of fun things that you can do with this. The full recipe is on my website. Thanks for watching.